I am the captain of this ship.
That's true. Does that make me your number one?
Oh,
I'm your Will Riker. I can do the Riker lean and everything,
oh my
Michelle.
gosh, that's so funny. Okay, so would you just be blurting all the time when you were little?
Stream of consciousness implies that there's these words being stated in my head, but it's more stream of observation.
Hello, Megan.
Hello, Michelle.
Welcome to Sisters.
Sisters.
They are never such devoted
Sisters.
Oh,
Hi.
So good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Oh, I love to talk to you. I'm excited for tonight because guess what we're going to talk about?
What?
Your brain. Rosie's brain.
What?
Yes. We always talk about your neurospicy, neurodivergent, neurodistinct.
Neuroepic.
Neuroepic. I like it. Yes, your brain. And we're really like honing in on the ADHD symptoms / how do you know if someone you love has ADHD? And we kind of look at it in a couple ways, right? We always usually like have a topic or we have a memory. And then we like dig into that brain of yours to figure out exactly what might be going on there. And then sometimes we look at sort of strategies or ways that you've either coped with it or dealt with it over the years. And then we like to invite our community to come in and share with us anything they may have to offer because we always need help.
Always.
Yeah. And then sometimes in the episode I go, oh, wait, I'm exactly like that too.
Yeah.
Since
So do I
it is genetic, right?
Do I need to put into Google, how do I know if my sister is ADHD?
Oh, yeah. I think there might be some things to that for sure. Today, I want to talk a little bit about blurting.
Blurting.
Blurting, interrupting.
What?
I know.
What do you mean? What do you mean? I don't interrupt. What are we talking about? I don't interrupt yourself.
I do this all the time. My son's always like, Mom, that's not what I meant. So I think I have this actually worse than you do. But talk to me a little bit about like when I bring that up, does it bring up any memories for you or any thoughts or might it?
I have a ton of thoughts in my head at all times. And I blurt things in my head on a regular basis.
You're head blurting.
Oh, yeah. I'm brain blurting.
Brain blurting. Hold on just a second. Just a second, I'm BB.
Well, as a kid, I struggled keeping the thoughts inside my head. So, whatever I was thinking, I would just blurt out. I think we talked about this last time about how I would just tell you like, hey, you've got some chocolate on your face. And you're like, ah.
Yeah, it was very high volume in a small restaurant.
Because I'm blurting it out, because I don't realize how resonant my voice is. And I'm,
so resonant. So it made you great for theater.
That's right. It totally did.
Yeah, totally did. So you would just, whatever's in your head. And I remember you telling me that you sort of think in visuals a lot of times too. Mm-hmm. So were things visually going on in your head that you were then blurting out?
When I think of blurting, I don't think of visuals.
Interesting. Okay.
And I think a lot of times, so I get really distracted in my own brain. So I think a lot of times the blurting out is just purely me trying to say it before I forget what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you were blurting right now, what might be
Daisy.
coming?
Oh my gosh, Daisy's right there. She's so cute. Oh!
That's your dog, your pug.
Yeah.
And she's literally right by you right now.
Yeah, she's like on her little, what is that thing? Her little bed.
Oh, that little round bed that she curls up into.
Mm-hmm.
That's cute.
And she's kind of snoring a little bit, and I'm thinking of her. I'm thinking of the scratch that my nose is itchy. I think I might be getting a little sick. I'm thinking about my Star Trek mug. My tea, Earl Grey, hot.
Tea, Earl Grey, hot. That's so funny because I'm actually drinking caffeinated Earl Grey right now.
Are you? Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
I am. I am the captain of this ship.
That's true. So does that mean
I'm not sure of that actually, but
does that make me your number one?
Oh,
I'm your little Riker. I can do the Riker lean and everything,
oh my
Michelle.
gosh. If you do not know what Megan is talking about, you have to go back and look at the, what was it, 90s version of Star Trek?
Yeah, I think it was like the mid 80s, like late 80s and then into the 90s. Yeah. The Star Trek Next Generation.
Next Generation.
TNG.
You love that.
Oh my gosh. Jean-Luc Picard, who is played by Patrick Stewart.
Yes.
He is one of my freebies.
Your freebies, is that like with you and your husband, you both decided like, yeah, okay. Yeah. All right, Patrick Stewart, if you hear this, Megan's one of your freebies. Oh, no, wait. The other way around. Or the other way around. Okay.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, so would you just be blurting all the time when you were little? I'm trying to remember. I don't remember you stopping talking, so I don't remember it so much being interrupting as just being
think about I have amnesia.
A bit of a monologue. Yes. Oh, yeah. Let's tell that story because that's a little bit, can I set the stage?
That's an iconic little Rosey story.
It is. Yeah. You were maybe 4 or so. Maybe we've told this story. I don't know, but I don't think so. But
I don't think we have.
You and our brother and I were all watching like an old movie.
Yeah,
right?
Turner
Black
Classic
and white.
movie. Mm-hmm.
Turner Classic, because I love Turner Classic movies, and you guys appeased me, I think. And maybe I had the remote. I was oldest.
I liked them.
I mean, you did too? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good. I didn't make you. Okay. And we were watching. I think it was a Cary Grant movie, and in this movie, at some point, he like puts his finger in his mouth and he goes, warbles it. And he's like, oh, I've got amnesia. He's like pretending to be crazy, right? He's pretending for whatever reason in this movie to be crazy. And I can't remember why. But you started to do this.
Mm-hmm. It just seemed so much fun.
Yeah. And so you ran around the living room. It was like 11 o'clock at night. Like, where were our parents? Who knows? Hi, Mom. We love you. But
I think they were there too. Because I remember Mom distinctly getting annoyed.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure she was there. And it was probably 7 p.m. You know what I mean? Who knows? We don't remember. But it was late and you kept doing it.
Yes.
Do you remember this?
Oh, I do.
So do you remember what you did physically, like to get that sound?
Yes.
Like, could you recreate it for us here in this moment? Like what it would have looked like? Okay, now I just want everyone who's listening to listen to this. And if you're watching us, just picture this going on for like 40 minutes or what seemed like 40 minutes.
It was 40, maybe 32.
I don't know. But anyway, go on. So you were little and you were running around. And what did you do?
I have amnesia. I have amnesia. I have amnesia.
If you can't see her, she's got her finger going in her mouth, like to the side, back and forth while she's saying it. Okay, Mike and I got worried. Like at some point, we got worried. Yeah, because we couldn't get you to stop. You were like on loop.
It just felt so good. Well, I think the problem is that you guys laughed at it the first time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And thought it was funny and cute because I was a little 4-year-old. And then that just like in turn gave me more energy and then got me more excited. And then I enjoyed doing it because that like little weird thing you do with your mouth, it actually feels really good.
It's like reverberations. A sensory thing too.
Yeah. And so then I just couldn't stop because I was like, this is just feels amazing. And once I was on.
That was that.
That was that.
Oh my goodness. So with interrupting, blurting, does it feel good to you? Like, let's dig into that a little bit because that's like a very specific moment of you sort of blurting out, but it was also acting, right? You were acting at that moment and trying to mimic. But when you're like in a conversation when you were little or you were part or trying to be part, I guess, maybe of the community, do you remember like what it felt like?
I think it just felt important or like necessary that if I don't say this right now, I'm never going to say it. Or it's kind of a tough one because I don't think that I consciously would have known that as when I was younger, that that's why I was doing it. But also I didn't quite grasp that there were social cues that I had to wait for. It kind of eluded me for a little while until I got to be a bit older. It's like a thought comes into my head and it's like, okay, let's go. Like, I'm ready. I want to go. Let's do this,
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So you're just excited about that thought and want to pursue it?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I was curious because I feel like I interrupt a lot And I think it is a little bit that for me. Yeah, I know. Sorry, you're looking at me like, yeah, I've lived with you my whole life. I know. But I do, and it isn't because I'm not listening, but I'm kind of like excited about the next thing I want to ask or contributing in some way. So I think I feel that same sense of, I don't know if it's the same, actually, I shouldn't say that, but from my perspective, what it is it's this, because I'm so engaged.
I think that this one probably is not quite as big of a, that I remember. I do distinctly remember listening to people, and I already understand what they're asking, and so I have a response. And I don't need to hear the rest of what you're saying because it's superfluous. So I will just answer you right now to make you stop, to make the droning on and on about something boring that I just can't listen to anymore. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Here's the answer.
Interesting. So mine is I'm really engaged with whatever somebody's saying, and yours maybe comes from a place of less of that, less engaged.
Well, no, I am engaged, but the thing is that the other person is talking in a manner that's way too slow for me. And so I'm going to disengage if they don't stop talking.
You don't want to disengage with them, so you kind of interrupt so that you won't.
Right. Because like what happened, I think on our last podcast, when you started talking about, I don't even remember what it was, but there was some kind of more technical, scientific-y type words being used and completely blanked out.
Right.
just went somewhere else, and so
it's funny because the two words were directed attention. And directed as attention is to like pay attention to things that are boring. and then automatic attention or automated attention where you're really, you like it because you pay attention just because you're so interested.
There you go.
But I love that I'm a snooze fest for you, and I apologize to everybody else who was listening.
It's not you, Michelle. It's me. Totally.
No,
it's
but
not...
I mean... No, I don't mean it as rude to me even, that I was joking, but I think it's true. It's like there's just certain things that, we each are engaged with, that we each are interested in, right? And so it's harder to pay attention to those things that, you're not as interested in. Yeah. But it's even harder for someone with ADHD. Like that's the thing, is that if you're not interested in it, and that's why picking a profession or picking things that you want to do on a daily basis you are interested in really matters. And in fact, you're better at paying attention to it than people without ADHD.
Well, and this is why my interest is sort of a litmus test for if I should be doing something. Because if I can't remember to do it on my own, then should I really be doing it? Now, it's something different if like you get into the grind and it's like having some support to help you, get into a better flow. That's different. But if I'm not able to remember from day to day that I want to do something, then it's just not something that I am interested in. And I think that's really telling that if I can't maintain that on my own to some extent, it's like I'm shooting all over myself. It's not necessarily something I should be spending time doing unless like legally I have to, like taxes.
Yeah. Or caring for like, children or something.
Yeah. Exactly.
But maybe we want to do that too, right? But
yeah.
I think that's true. I wonder though, when you say that, how that translated to school, because so much of school should be not want to, I think, maybe for you.
Oh, yeah. That's why school was incredibly difficult. And I think that's probably why I didn't do well until about my junior or senior year in college, is because once I got to junior or senior year, I was doing the like technical advanced stuff in theater, and I was really enjoying that. And all the other stuff I had to get to, the prerequisites and all of the other stuff, just was drudgery at times. That's why I had to become a preceptor in classes. I had to like go and have a set time where like I would meet with the teacher and I would hear about it and get that kind of one-on-one experience. And that was really the only thing that got me through some of those general education courses.
How did interrupting, I mean, maybe not blurting, but interrupting translate to those experiences, or how might it have? It's hard to interrupt a teacher, right, when there's a large lecture and there's 100 people in there or something, 200 people. How did that work
Well,
for you?
I think that as I got older, I learned to not verbally interrupt, but attention wise, my attention's being interrupted all the time by myself. I am full blown interrupting myself with all sorts of things. So it's less about other people and more about me now, which is why I struggle to process internally. Brian always can. I joke about it. I say he introverts. You know, he can sit in his brain and he can think about something and process the entire thing in his brain by himself. And I can't do that because my brain interrupts my brain, if that makes sense.
Interesting. So you're constantly like blurting, interrupting internally.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Me, we we have a weird relationship at times.
What can we dig into that a little more? Like, what is it that might look like or be like for you?
I mean, it's constant.
It's you. It's
every
you,
day.
Right? Yeah.
Okay, so like what would be something I would need to process and turn inside my head?
So maybe you're trying to decide how you want to go about cleaning your house or something.
Oh God. Yep.
Okay. Do you want to do something more exciting?
No.
You just like went sad all of a sudden. Like, oh God.
No, it's perfect because I don't want to do it. So it's like, so I think to myself, okay, I clean. Like, first of all, I see my bathroom. Oh, it's dirty. I need to clean this. And then I leave my bathroom to go get the cleaning supplies. And on the way, I realize I haven't eaten. So I go and eat. And then I'm eating. And then I realize I have to do something else. And then I've already forgotten that the room needs to be cleaned. And so then it isn't until I go to bed, I'm like, oh, that's right. I need to clean this space. Okay, I'll remember to do it tomorrow. So then tomorrow I get up, I'm like, yep, I got to clean this space. And then it starts all over again. Let's say, okay, I get the cleaning supplies. Cool.
Yeah.
Got the cleaning supplies.
Yeah.
And then I realize, oh, I still have all of these to-go containers from when we went to New York. And I need to put them away. So I go and put them away. But first I have to dry them out because if I don't dry them out, then they're going to get all moldy. And so we're in a different climate now. So I do that. Then I go put it away. And then I realize like, oh, you know what? I completely forgot that Daisy needs to go outside and go to the bathroom. So I take Daisy out to go outside and go to the bathroom. And then the evening comes and I go to wash my face and I realize, oh, I completely forgot that I was cleaning my bathroom.
So the interrupting is not intentional.
No, but it's not on purpose, but it's intentional in the sense that if I don't do it right now, I'm going to forget. What's the thing that is the most priority? What's the hot potato right now? What needs to get done? Well, Daisy definitely has to go out because she's going to pee or poop in the house. Can't have that happen. And really, is my bathroom being dirty that important? On a scale of, 1 to peeing in the house, I think peeing in the house is more important.
1 to peeing in the house.
There's like a scale in my head of like what's on fire, and then the things that are on fire get the attention first.
Fascinating. So if you're like writing, because you're a writer, does that happen while you're writing? Does your brain interrupt you while you're writing too?
Yeah, it does. If you look at like my notes, you'll see like I'll write down a specific section of like a story I'm working on. And then in parentheses, I'll write, like I'll have another thought, but in parentheses, I'll put continue with this at some other point. So I kind of write down the remaining thought. And then I go into something completely different. Or I'll realize like I'll start, in the middle of the story and then work my way through it and then realize, oh, actually that thing in the start that actually needs to come down here. And I do it in real time. So it's challenging. I've actually.
That's interesting. That's really interesting because like sequences tends to be something that I've been reading about is hard for people with ADHD.
Yeah, sequencing is really challenging. And I've found that in order for me to actually be able to write, I have to usually write down the things that I'm thinking first. So I'll write, that kind of helps propel me into writing, but I have to write down like, what am I thinking about right now? And I literally am writing down, what am I thinking about right now? I'm thinking that I should be writing about this topic. And then I start asking myself questions and I write down those questions in order to keep my brain focused and on that train of thought. And I will kind of go into it and see like how it helps me. But if I don't, I will veer off the cliff so quickly that I will never get anything written.
And what might that look like when you say that you veer off the cliff quickly?
I'm trying to think if I can show an example.
Okay.
Let me see.
You're pulling up some of your writing right now. Mm-hmm. It's almost meditative the way you write questions down and ask yourself to stay present.
Yeah, we had just finished a podcast last week's podcast, and so I wanted to write some stuff, and so I wrote down, if I think about telling my story from my unique point of view, what would it be about? I am passionate about my neuro brain.
We transplanted it last week also. It was really exciting if you weren't listening. We did surgery.
That's right. About my new brain, helping others to accept the differences in us all. Had I been born decades earlier, I would have been institutionalized. That is crazy to even consider, but it's not unthinkable. There goes Megan. Oh, she's just being Megan. Can you help get your kid under control? What was there to control about me? What was so wrong with me? Why do we all need to fit in? It started small. A twitch of my nose here, a scrunch of my shoulder there. The guides were nice enough not to say anything, even though I sometimes caught them looking and staring. So I go in from this question all of a sudden into like pain.
Interesting. And is it like stream of consciousness for you, like your whole life?
Yeah. Well, wait, sorry, when I'm writing or like my whole life in general?
Okay, let's break it down. So for the writing, is it stream of consciousness a bit?
Yeah, so what I do for writing is that I definitely stream of conscious. I've realized if I just lay it all out however it comes out of my head, then that's better. And then I can go back and kind of fill in things a bit more artistically. But I have to stream of consciousness it. I have to, I went from pain, and I wrote a couple of paragraphs about pain. And then I wrote a question, can I pinpoint a few moments about pain? And then the next one was, her name was Sister Marie. She was a slender woman with tight white curled hair adorning her head. Right. So it just, I wrote a paragraph about pain, and then Sister Marie popped into my head. So I make a new paragraph, and then there's Sister Marie talking. Wow. And I'll then take these things and then put them where they're supposed to be in the chronological order. But getting it out of my head, if I don't write down the stuff about the pain, then I would never have gotten to Sister Marie.
Interesting. And Sister Marie was one of the social workers or special ed type people at school?
Yeah, we think that she was a special ed type teacher. She wasn't doing I didn't have an IEP, but she took an interest in me.
And IEPs are individual education plans for those of you who aren't familiar, but that's for kiddos that need a little extra support in school.
And I think I would have benefited from that back in the day.
But we just weren't at a school that allowed that. So as you think about walking through your life without writing, not when you're not writing, is it similar? Is the way your brain kind of interacting with the world similar sort of stream of consciousness in a sense? Or
I think it's not a stream of consciousness implies that there's these words being stated in my head, but it's more stream of observation.
Oh.
So there's, the classic joke of like, hey, I'm talking to you and all of a sudden squirrel,
Yeah, that happened the last podcast last week, actually. It wasn't a squirrel though. It was Daisy.
Dude, should I keep that in?
Daisy the pug.
Should I keep that in the podcast?
Yes.
Well, she just, it's true. It's like
stream of observation. I love that. That's really interesting way to think of it.
I just came up with it right now.
Did you just stream it out right this minute?
Yeah, well, I was trying to think like, what is it I do? it's a stream of observation.
Can I give you a thumbs up for that?
Okay, hold on. Yeah.
We just found out, by the way, speaking of like being all over the place, we just found out on our service, what do we use? Something
Squadcast,
that you can make like little emojis pop out. So we're like giving each other heart signals right now. So if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see it. It's been fun. So this idea though of interrupting, you didn't feel like this was a problem for you when you were in school. You weren't like always raising your hand or yelling out answers, or you were...
I wasn't yelling at answers because I didn't half the time understand what they were talking about,
okay.
But I was always raising my hand and asking inappropriate questions.
Wait. Like, what would that look like? Like, what do you mean inappropriate?
Well, I have questions. I have thoughts. Like, someone says something and I want to know more about it. And they're like, oh, that's not the point, Megan. No. You're getting into the weeds. And I'm like, but yes. I want to know, like, why does it do that? Why does it do this? Like, okay, but if they do it that way, then how can... And I have so many questions that I can't stop. And
Yes.
I love getting into the details of things. And they're like, well, that's not what we're discussing right now. And I'm like, well, why aren't we? I thought we're talking about this topic. Why can't we go into it more detail? In excruciating detail for my brain so it can be excited about it.
So you were asking the why. Did you drive every science teacher crazy?
I don't know. If I did, they were really good actors and they didn't tell me.
Maybe they liked it because they liked the why too, maybe. I wonder what teachers didn't want you to ask more questions. I mean, as a teacher, there is a point where it's going to go either derail the lesson, right? It goes so far off of where your mind was going if you have a plan, right? So I can see that to some degree, but generally it's great for kids to ask questions. You just had a lot of them.
I did. Because you would answer one question and then I'd have another one and it would spawn multiple questions. And then that would apparently derail the class because they would always laugh at me and snicker and think I was stupid because I was asking so many questions, or they get frustrated with me because I'm asking questions super late in the afternoon and they're like, oh, there goes Megan again. And I just was curious. And that's the thing is like, I wasn't always curious, but when I actually was, I would speak up and I would ask questions. And then I was told, you're asking too many questions. And so it was like, well, if I'm actually enjoying something and I finally engage with it, but then my engagement isn't appropriate, then I just shut down at school.
So there was no winning for you in that environment.
No, none at all.
Because either you were not engaged at all, and so your attention was really distracted, or you were very engaged and hyper engaged.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was never in that Goldilocks state of attention.
Wow. Never just right.
Yeah. Never just right.
It just always felt that way. You didn't even know any different.
No. And I couldn't have consciously told you that was what was happening back in the day. But I can recall being in lessons and just being like, oh, like for some reason I have this weird memory of learning about the word success and how there was double C, double E. Is that right? It's not even right. No. But like there was some doubles and there was like double C, double S, right? And all I remember is looking out the window and seeing these like perfectly square panes of glass and how the light was shimmering in that specific moment onto what are those? It was making like it was making a reflection onto the other side of the wall. And like that's what I remember from that lesson. I remember her talking about it, but I remember being more fascinated by the reflection on the wall.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is that how you remember double? Because there were two reflections or something, or that's unrelated?
No, completely unrelated. I just remember that those two things happened at the same time. I mean, I just said double S, double E. Wait, it's not double E. What is it again?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I clearly didn't retain any of it.
I just remember she was saying that and I saw these reflections. Oh my gosh.
I remember we were learning that and I was way more interested in the reflections than I was in what she was saying.
Wow. It's so interesting to me, like how you've eventually got on medication for this, right? Does that change it? I know you've been off your medication for a few weeks, I think, right?
Oh, I've been off it for the ADHD medicine. I've been off it for like about a year now.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just for a couple of months.
No, I was the sleep medication I'm on. It's supposed to help with keeping you awake. That's the stuff I haven't been on for like the last 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah, no, ADHD medicine, I've had to work through a lot of different questions of like, am I really ADHD? Is it trauma? Because there's a lot of false ADHD diagnoses that can happen. And so you have to look at like trauma can actually mask itself as ADHD in a lot of people. And so they took me off of it, I don't know, probably like 4 or 5 years ago when I was going through my real trauma treatment and got through that trauma treatment, got a lot better. And then, nope, still have ADHD. Still.
It's a real one for you.
Very real for me.
Yeah. I mean,
exactly.
Do you feel like when you're on your medication that the idea of this interrupting your own thoughts changes? Do you remember what it feels like to be on it? I mean, it was a year ago, but and how it might be different.
I mean, I do. The big thing, I don't know about the interrupting part. The only way I can describe being on a medication is like being at the coast. And you know how like when you're at the coast and it's early in the morning and there's like that layer of fog, that's just sort of there.
The marine layer.
And then eventually the marine layer. Yeah, the marine layer is there. And then eventually it heats up enough or something happens and like the marine layer burns off or it recedes. It goes away. Like that's what it feels like. It feels like I'm in this brain fog at all times where like it just kind of almost hurts a little bit in my head at all times. And then as soon as I take this medication and it's kind of kicked into my body, it feels like this fog has just been lifted. The pain kind of goes away and everything just seems easier.
Wow. That would seem like you would want that again.
Yeah. No, it's definitely something that I do. And so I've been having a lot of trouble sleeping. Not sleeping. I've been sleeping fine. It's just I wake up and I am exhausted. And so I've been falling asleep in the middle of the day a lot and we haven't known what's going on with it. I have sleep apnea, so I've got a CPAP. I'm totally a cyborg now. I'm like the Borg queen officially from Star Trek TNG. Yes! They had to go through all of this testing to figure out, okay, what's really going on? Be with the CPAP for a while, be with this, so I had to do like a whole year's worth of stuff before they would say, you know what, let's try you on this medication, see if that helps. It does somewhat keep me awake, but you know, I'm still struggling with it. So part of it is that like you can't take both the medications at the same time because they're both kind of stimulant type. They're not stimulant, but they're doing that sort of whatever neurotransmitting thing.
Yeah.
Like the ADHD medicine does. They interact and they can cause problems. And so we've been trying. And I said, fine, like let's try stuff. Like,
yeah,
I'll be a guinea
pig. You got your whole life here. Like, let's just try out, see what works best for sure. So what strategies then are you using to help you deal with this like self-interrupting? Because sometimes it makes things non-functioning for you, right? Or can.
It does. Part of it is that I am letting go of all of the shoulds that I should be doing. And I'm going to totally out myself, but like I haven't cleaned my bathroom. And I'm sure that I wouldn't let anybody in to use my restroom because I'm like, it's gross. And I know that you would find it gross, but that's where I'm at right now. Like I've been prioritizing feeding myself over cleaning my bathroom. I have been prioritizing getting myself out of the house over cleaning my bathroom. You know, I only have so much energy in a day. And so I've been prioritizing other things. Like there's still a part of me that nags me, but like I know that I will eventually deal with it and I will figure out a solution down the road. But I'm like, I'm just so happy that I've been consistently keeping my kitchen clean for like the last 2 months. You know, I definitely have days where I go to bed and I'm like, it's just too much. I'll do it tomorrow. But for the most part, like my kitchen has not been a complete and total disaster.
That's amazing.
And so I'm just like, yes, I'll give myself the thumbs up.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, good job, me.
Absolutely.
Because
job. Yeah.
That's the first start. Like if I can show myself, hey, I can do my kitchen at least, then I can say, okay, I've consistently done this for 3 months. Great. Do you feel like you have enough ability now, Megan, to try the bathroom next? And I'm just not trying to do it all at the same time because like what I'm learning is that if I try to do it all at the same time, I will burn myself out and I won't do it at all.
So just giving yourself that space and permission to do it at the pace that works for you. That's amazing. Yeah. And I think also, like you said, the shoulds, I think there's so much judgment that comes at keeping this like puritanical clean home and whatever all these things are, right? That we have out there that we think we need to do, all the different pictures we see online of these perfect places and whatnot, and how hard that is to come to actually do that. It's not realistic. Yeah. Yeah.
There's just, I think, a lot of misunderstanding, especially online, from people who are experts at things. For instance, I was trying to help Daisy and train her. And so there's this guy on YouTube who's got a bunch of great stuff and he's got like a little community you can join. So I joined it for a month to see what it was about. Some of the stuff is really helpful, what he talked about, but there got to a point like where he says, okay, well, every day you need to do da-da-da-da-da. Like he's showing how to engage with the animal, but it's very physical. And so I got on like a live coaching session with him and I was like, hey, so, you know, what do you recommend for people who are limited in their mobility? And you know, how do you help with that? Like, what do you recommend for that? And he turned it right back on me and he says, well, anybody can do it. And clearly you're not like, my question for you is, what is your goal with the dog? And I was like, well, okay. I mean, granted, I don't have a goal, I guess. Like, well, that's the problem. You don't have a goal, so you're not going to know.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, I get that. Like, sure. But my physical question is like, if you have to teach them heel, and that means you have to walk and stop and turn around and do all these things that like my ankles right now cannot handle doing, how do you deal with it in that sense?
Right.
And so like just something as simple as that, I was like, okay, I'm done. Like he doesn't get it. That's okay.
Yeah. You wanted him to be curious with you, and he wasn't curious.
Yeah. And say, oh, okay, so if you have trouble walking, why don't you try doing it this way? Or it's like when you go to a yoga class and there's somebody who is doing a modified version of it.
Right.
And so there should be modifications for all of this stuff for people who are talking about cleaning. Like, okay, great. You're talking about cleaning. I still can't figure out how to clean my tub because I can't bend over to clean the bottom of the tub. So like, what do I use? Everyone's like, oh, it's just so simple. You just do. And I'm like, I can't physically bend over to do it that way. So what's the modification?
Can you mop it? Like have
Probably,
a special
but
tub
like what mop do I buy? What mop do I buy? Do I buy a sponge mop? Do I buy a ring mop?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the best version of it? And then how do I clean it? And like, I have all these questions, but like, that's where I go into the weeds, right? That's where like I interrupt myself and I'm like, okay, it's not as simple as just buy a mop. Like what kind of mop? And like how big and like how long? And do I have to worry about scratching the surface? And I mean, all of these questions just flood into my head. They interrupt whatever idea somebody has. And I'm just sweating by the end of it all. Yeah.
You're sweating. You are actually sweating now. But as you're thinking about it, I think what kind of gets me as you're saying this is how every single thing in your life until you figure it out, and now you've just moved, so you have to figure it out in a totally new space, is like this for you.
Yeah, everything.
I can only even imagine school when every single day it was something new. I mean, it's
because there's like
it's mind-boggling to me how you survived. You're so resilient. It's amazing.
I had a very active inner life. I think that's where I became a very good imagining things, and that's why I didn't do well in school. I mean, I just was not paying attention because I couldn't understand it. They didn't want to help me understand it. And so I just went off into my own little world and did my own thing.
Man, I am so curious what other people in our community do, because I think this self-interrupting was really interesting to me. I was thinking of it as you interrupting, but really this self-interrupting, and how when things are hard to do or hard to pay attention to, how that process works for people and how they deal with it. And I love what you said so much. So I'm so appreciative today of you being vulnerable with this, because just saying like, I am being kind to myself. I am radically accepting, as you like to say, the fact that my bathroom isn't clean right now, and that's okay. And that it will get cleaned. It will happen. It's just not right now. And I need to be okay with that.
Yeah. And kind of going back to the what thing is on fire. If I know someone's going to come and visit, I'm like, okay, I'll clean my bathroom now. Now it's a fire situation.
This is why I come visit
it's no fire
you.
drill. It's
You're like, okay, Michelle's coming. I got to clean the bathroom.
Michelle's coming. I got to clean. Okay, let's go.
That's so funny. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for being curious. I appreciate it. I love you.
Love
very
you
much. We're
Bye.
so cute. Okay, bye. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Sisters. This series, we're focusing more specifically on ADHD and all of its symptoms. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed spending time with my sister, please share it with someone who you think would benefit from the conversation. Make sure to follow us on whatever platform you're currently listening to so that you can get notified each week. Next week, we'll be talking about ADHD brain and speaking in an organized way. Me speak good now. Find out next week. Until then, here's to a great end of the week, and remember to stay curious. I gotta wake up. Hold on, Michelle. I love you. So bizarre.
So crazy.
It is.
Okay. What are we going to do?
I don't know.
All right.
Just gonna hang out.